Hi again, guys. Those of you who know me know that besides pantyhose and hosiery in general, my passions also include women's professional wrestling. So today I'm doing another women's wrestling special, focused this time around on Rustee the Fox Thomas. Now, Rustee the Fox Thomas is the sort of wrestler most people probably know as a jobber or a rather winningless heel. Now, that couldn't be further from the truth. Rustee the Fox Thomas was one of the best and most capable wrestlers of that era being the 80s, the 90s, the early 90s. I'm not quite sure for exactly how long she stayed active. What I do know, however, is that she was always treated as a sort of a jobber, but even in that role she thrived, in the sense that she managed to show off her skills and her moveset, which was like second to none almost. And she always managed to make the wrestler, who eventually ended up destroying her, look good in the eyes of the public as well as in general. Alright, so Rustee the Fox Thomas wasn't just a game jobber. She was a sort of a heel jobber mix, which worked extremely well in that day and age. She was definitely not the type of jobber that the professional wrestling scene employed in great numbers those days. The typical jobber of the 80s and 90s was a girl next door type of wrestler who looked like she just walked by on the street and the promoters pulled her in for a match, and who always bumbled her way around the ring, not really knowing where she is at. Well, Rustee the Fox Thomas was the opposite of that. In addition to knowing how to make her opponents look good and how to execute some of the toughest professional wrestling moves ever, Rustee the Fox Thomas also knew how to sell. Now, the way she sold moves and various submission maneuvers was absolutely outstanding. She would flail her submission or would lie completely prone on the mat, sure mark for the 1, 2, 3. Now, she began her wrestling career in the Virginia Wrestling Association in 1988. Her first match took place in the gym of a high school, and immediately she ended up hurting her opponent. Talk about starting off with the left foot. Following her Virginia Wrestling Association tenure, she wrestled for various leagues on the independent circuit, and she eventually ended up signing with the LBWH, where arguably her career peaked. Now, in the LBWH, she was one of the most high-profile heels, and she would regularly wrestle and end up losing to big names like Reggie Bennett, Terry Power, and she sort of had a feud with Malaya Hosaka as well. A feud which didn't exactly go her way either, as Hosaka, despite being smaller than Thomas, managed to defeat her quite decisively several times. In addition to being an outstanding wrestler, Rustee the Fox Thomas was an extremely stylish woman and athlete in general. She had a superb body, and she wore a bunch of superb outfits to the ring, with various patterned tights, sort of like the ones I'm wearing now, only a different pattern and possibly better looking. Really sexy bathing suits, and she was always a sight to behold. Considering her talent, it was truly unfortunate that Rustee the Fox wrestled during the 80s and 90s when getting into the big leagues, the WWF or the WWC, as a female wrestler was quite next to impossible. So she never really made it to these leagues. Despite that, however, she was an outstanding representative of that era, wrestling, and for true wrestling fans, and for those who know their wrestlers, she will always be an outstanding personality of the squared circle. An interesting bit of trivia about Rustee the Fox Thomas is that Rustee wasn't her real name, which is hardly surprising, and also the fact that she disliked glow. She considered glow a disgrace and a sort of mockery of the sport. She never really considered glow as something that would fit the image of a proper athlete. Well, guys, that's it for today. Like my video, hit that subscribe button down below and the bell button right next to it, ring it, so you get notified every time I upload. And yeah, well, that's it for today. Follow me on social media, by the way, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, you'll find me everywhere. Just search for me, just Google me, whatever. Alright guys, see you around.